Good day, and welcome to another edition of the Conversation on TV 360. My name is Nelson Ekujumi, and like we all know, this is a program in which there is no host, but the participants are all discussants on the program. And today I have with me as a co-discussant Peter Okpara, who is also a public affairs analyst. Peter, welcome to the program today.
Thank you.
Yes, so what are we looking at today? I think we want to start with the post-election legal outcomes that is still out there in the public space. You recollect that we started with the presidential election petition tribunal giving its judgment on the 6th of September that was last month, in 2023. And just yesterday, we had, yesterday and day before yesterday, we had the petition election tribunals giving judgments in Rivers State, giving judgment in which they affirmed the governor, that's the governor of Rivers, the incumbent governor of Rivers State. We also saw the case of Nasarawa State, whom the election petition tribunal, told to vacate the office for the PDP candidate. So by and large, we can see that the judiciary is living up to the billing. The judiciary is doing what it's supposed to do with regards to people who are aggrieved from the recently concluded election. Because like we all know, elections are conducted by human beings, and human beings participate in it. So like we have always admitted, there's no perfect election anywhere. Wherever there are flaws in the election, the responsibility of the judiciary is to look at it based on fact and evidence and to do justice to the matter with regards to ensuring that the conduct of the election is in compliance, is in substantial compliance as stipulated by the law and not by. So what do you make of politicians who are still in court, or those who have obtained victory? What do you think about all these post-election legal battles?
Thank you. I think the whole thing is still within the framework of election conduct in Nigeria. After the conduct of election, depending on how you feel, either when you feel that the election was properly conducted or improperly conducted, you may now decide to approach the courts. The courts is like the the adjudicatory arm, of the system. INEC conducts the election. The courts are there to look into cases, to look into petitions, based on your own feeling about the conduct of the election. And based on what you present on the ground, the court adjudicates. The court doesn't adjudicate in a vacuum. So it is based on what you present to the courts that they now say, oh, well, you were right. The election were not properly conducted. And based on that, so and so thing had to be coming as a remedy. Or you were wrong. The elections were properly conducted. And at the end of the day, it is like still a 50-50 affair. But it is largely dependent on what you present. Like they say in that's the computer language, it's about garbage in, garbage out. Yes, now, if you obtain a favorable verdict from the courts, maybe there will be no need for you to appeal. If you obtain an unfavorable verdict at the court, you can now appeal. I think in the case of the governorship election, you can appeal up to the Supreme Court. Yes. So there are three tiers of adjudication. The election petitions, the appeal court. The presidential has 2 levels. That's from the appeal court to the Supreme Court. So it is just like a natural process. And until all these are concluded, that's all the adjudications are exhausted.
Yes, but
now not say actually this is the final outcome of an election.
Yes, but for me, the worrying aspect for me at times is the conduct of our politicians and their supporters. You see people who go to courts, and when the judiciary gives judgment, if it doesn't go their way. Oh, the judiciary has been compromised. The judiciary has done this. oh, I have no faith in judiciary, knowing fully well that before you participated in that process, the judicial process was also an element in electoral process. Because even in marriage, a marriage that has been consummated whether in a church or in a mosque or in a court, there's also that window for you that if you are dissatisfied with the marriage, relationship, you can go to court and say, my lord, I want you to help me dissolve this unity, this union. So one gets disturbed or one gets amused at times when you see people who immediately judgment goes against them, knowing fully well that if there's one thing we know about judiciary, that judiciary is not a Father Christmas. Judiciary is an arm of government for serious business. And in discussing about serious business, if you are going to tell the court, I won this election, you must go there with your proof. It is not for you to go there and say, oh, I won this election. And when you are asked, you start whipping up sentiments. Oh, international observers said the election was not well conducted. The polls before the election said, I will win. INEC official said this, knowing fully well that whatever INEC official says is not the Electoral Act or the Constitution. The only document with which the judiciary, the courts, conduct its business is the Constitution and the Electoral Act. So, is it a case of our politicians becoming over desperate and taking advantage of our people who shamefully, we live in a society today in which when you tell people things, when you give them a story, they don't even take the pains to say, what Peter or what Nelson has told me, let me examine. It's just like when I'm in my home and they are showing something on TV. And my children come and ask me that, Daddy, is it true? I will tell them, look, watch TV. I can mislead you. If you are not convinced.
Actually, let me take it off from there. You will not be surprised about the antics of politicians in the courts. In the courts, they will use everything they have. And part of the things they use are the antics. Antics are not right. But then, if you feel that it can swing elections to your favor, you use it. It is still allowed. But at the end of the day, there is an end to adjudication. By the time you go to the first stage, go to the second stage, and go to the third stage, it is now left for you to say, maybe my antics didn't help me, or this and that. But the idea, at the end of the day, it's not as if we are going to talk about or we are defending the judiciary. The judiciary is a human institution. Yeah, it is still fallible.
Absolutely.
So it can make mistakes, no doubt about that.
Yes.
But it is not to the extent that you are fixated on when it favors me, it is correct.
It is correct.
When it doesn't favor me, it is wrong.
It is
at the end of it. Now, like you said, the judiciary has given processes through which you can challenge even their decisions.
Yes.
That when you now go on appeal, you are challenging the decisions of the lower adjudication level.
Yes.
So you still have those opportunities. But at the end of it, you now realize that there is a limit to deploying these antics for victory. So at the whole thing borders to, you use everything you have. But it is only tried to say that in approaching a court of law, you only use credible and plausible causes that stand better chances of being approved by the judiciary, being approved by the courts for you. Any other thing is that you take advantage and thinking that it may work. Sometimes it may work. Sometimes you may have, extend some influences on the judges of the tribunal to grant it. But as I said, there are also many other layers of appeal through which you have to go through. You exploit those things. And whenever you exhaust your appeal, you go and rest. That is about it and wait for another election.
The beauty of the judiciary is that when it comes to election matters, it is not a court of one-man justice. It's a court of maybe 3-man justices or 5-man justices or 7-man justices, depending on that level. So when somebody comes and say, oh, when they look at, for example, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal judgment, the justices gave each justice gave his or her own judgment. That is how I see, and you know, they aligned with one another. They cited relevant authorities. They looked at the merits and demerits of each case, even including the position of the respondents, where they found the position of the respondent not in consonance with the electorate. Every one of them stated it. But you know, we have a situation today. People are fixated on the thinking that, oh, this is how I want it, and this is how the judges must, you know, give judgment. And we saw it on display by the vice presidential candidate of one of the parties who went to one TV station and was saying, oh, if the justices, if they don't give judgment in our favor, then democracy is dead and buried.
You know, these are the antics I was talking about. Everybody uses every antique he can bet. At the level of adjudication, you now know that there must be a limit. All these antiques have exhausted, and possibly they didn't help you or they helped you. But you must realize that there must be an end to these antics. And that is what I think the Constitution intended when it instituted different layers of adjudication in electoral issues. But coming up to maybe faulting the verdicts of a court or not, that is left for the... I believe and I know that even if God is to be the judge, you will see anybody losing, faulting God in the verdict. So it should not surprise anybody. But at the end of the day, it amounts to nothing. It amounts to nothing because a legal process, you know, has, like, let me draw you back to the verdict of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. That is one of the... I think one leading lawyer, I think Chief Robert Clark, described it as the two best judgments he had ever seen. So certain things are beyond doubt.
Absolutely.
You can always make the noise. You can always find reasons to satiate your desire, but you will not impeach a credible judgment at the end of the day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much, Peter. We have really enjoyed our time on this episode of the program. We'll quickly go on a short break and we'll be right back. Please continue to stay tuned to the conversation on TV 360. Thank you. We'll be right back.